Novelty with S&B is a show about two sisters-in-law who share their love of books and tea.
Sometimes they read together, sometimes not. Sometimes horror, but mostly smut.
They review and recommend the books they've read and chat about other fun topics too.
Don't worry, they won't spoil anything, and if they do, they'll warn you.
Also be warned, this show is not for kids, or for anyone who might be offended by horror or sex talk, or both.
Looking at you, Mom.
Hello, and welcome back to Novelty with S&B, the book club with a podcast. I'm your co-host, Bekk.
And I'm Stephanie.
So it's that time again, our monthly wrapped of what we read and if we recommend them to you.
So what did you read this month?
So I read This Thing Between Us by Gus Marino, Hollowed Misfits by Leigh, Dream by the Shadows by Logan Karlie, and What Feasts at Night by Kingfisher, which is our hashtag read with S&B. What did you read?
I read What Moves the Dead by Kingfisher, Death's Obsession by Avina St. The Ever Queen by L.J. Andrews, Magick by Judith Sonnet, What Feasts at Night by Kingfisher, and Hollowed Misfits by Leigh.
So whether you're a seasoned bibliophile or a casual reader, consider this your invitation to join our cozy book club. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on our next adventure.
So without further ado, I'm going to start off with The Ever Queen by L.J. Andrews. So as you know, we read The Ever King, hashtag read with S&B last month. And as I said, I'm going to be reading the next one. And I did. So it's a fantasy romance. I started reading it February 3rd and finished it up on February 14th, Valentine's Day. 452 pages, and I read it on KU. So the summary is: the songbird, captive, challenger, queen. Enemies took her from the man who holds her heart. They might see her as weak, as a pawn in wicked games, but they're no match for the first ever queen. Let them think they've won. Her heart belongs to a beautiful monster, and she will never stop biting until she's back in his arms. The serpent, captor, villain, king. His enemies stole the woman who claimed his soul. They betrayed him out of greed and desire for the crown. But they won't die for that betrayal. No, they'll die for touching her. His heart belongs to a stunning little bird. He will never stop searching for her light across the skies, till the blood of his enemies spills at her feet, and the queen wears their bones around her neck. So, like
I love Eric.
I know, I love him too. The best. So, like I was saying in the last episode, I'm like, I know I'm gonna end up reading the sequel.
Yes.
And I did right away because I really liked it. I did notice there was a lot of mixed reviews on this book. Most people liked The Ever King and weren't a fan of this one. I did like the first book more, I will say, but I like this one as well. I will say the last 25%-ish of the book is a little slow. Just because, and it might just be because the first part is so action-packed, there's constantly something going on.
Yeah.
It just slows down. But it's for good reason. It kind of, it talks about how everything kind of falls into place. Some neat things happen at the end. It was just, I like the way it wrapped up. I really can't say too much because I don't want to give anything away. But there was a part that made me do little feet kicks, as you say. And I had a huge smile on my face, and I don't get like that. I don't get all. There was a part that made me so. If you guys read it, I'm sure you'll know what part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was just such a good part. But contrary to what I've read on Goodreads and otherwise, I would recommend it if you've read the first one. I thought it was good. A lot of people just said it was there was parts of it that were slow and it couldn't have been shortened and this and that, which, I mean, maybe, but it did. I can tell she didn't want any plot holes or unanswered questions, so she just kind of brought it all together. I didn't mind it. It didn't bother me at all. I loved the story. I loved Eric, especially. So it was a good read. I gave it 3.5 stars, 2 spice, and 1 eye roll.
Yeah, that's the question I had, is what people didn't like about it, but I mean, other people are going to have opinions of their own.
And if it's I would rather it tell me, I would rather know everything that happened, so I'm not I wonder how this ended up, or blah blah blah. So they do it can read a little slow just because the first part, excuse me, was so action packed, but I was entertained the whole time. So I personally liked
Oh,
it.
okay. The whole 452 pages of it?
Yeah, I was a long boy.
I know.
I liked it though. I enjoyed it. Everything else I read pretty much was pretty short. So
Yeah.
yeah. Ooh, so I know what you're talking about next because I love it. So
I read This Thing Between Us by Gus Marino. It is a horror, 272 pages. I started it on January 31st, ended it on February 3rd, so pretty quick.
yeah.
It is on Kindle Unlimited, which I don't find a whole lot of 5 stars on Kindle Unlimited, and that was a spoiler. Sorry. But the summary is that it was Vera's idea to buy the Itza, the world's most advanced smart speaker. Didn't interest Diago, but Vera thought it would be a bit of fun for them amidst the strange occurrences happening in the condo. But it made things worse. The cold spots and scratching in the walls were weird enough, but peculiar packages started showing up at the house. Who ordered Industrial Lie? Then there was the eerie music at odd hours, Diago waking up to the Itza projecting light shows in an empty room. It was funny and strange right up until Vera was killed, and Tiago's world became unbearable. Pundits and politicians all looking to turn his wife's death into a symbol for their own agendas. A barrage of texts from her well-meaning friends about letting go and moving on. Waking up to the sound of Itza talking softly to someone in the living room. The only thing left to do was get far away from Chicago, away from everything and everyone. A secluded cabin in Colorado seemed like the perfect place to hole up with his crushing grief. But soon Tiago realizes there's no escape, not from the guilt, not from the simmering rage, and not from the evil hunting him. Feeding on his grief, determined to make its way into the world. So, I spoiled my review a little bit on our most recent Thirsty because I loved this book. It was just the right amount of sinister without vivid descriptions of gore. I mean, there's a few
yeah.
things, explosions that happen, and I don't like gore, but if it's not like overwhelming like some of the books you read,
yeah.
I can do it. It had a unique enough plot line in the sense that it revolved around Alexa and Itza in this case, and there were points that were left without explanation, like mostly just how did this thing get here. I think I did use my Spanish translation services, thanks Belen. But still with that, like being able to understand, because there's a point where he talks to this lady and it's mostly in Spanish, that still doesn't leave a whole lot like learned, basically. You figure out who she is, but you don't understand what she's talking about. And I think that actually is part of the narrative too, is that he is a Mexican American that doesn't understand a whole lot of Spanish. So I think that helped serve the plot a lot more. Like, I don't understand Spanish. He doesn't understand Spanish. So like I was just as lost as he is.
Yeah.
And I do really, I saw some of the reviews that like that was a flaw, and I really do believe that was more of a choice on the author's point.
Yeah.
I was so sad in the first, like, well, the entire book, basically. Like, I was, his crushing grief was my crushing grief.
Yeah.
It had that way of like, because that's why we read, right? Is that we want to escape our reality and feel something that somebody else is feeling. And I feel like this book did a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said in the last episode, it shows how grief is experienced differently depending on the person. And it gave me a glimpse into what it could, like, I've never lost a spouse, but how you could experience losing a spouse.
Yeah. Like what direction you would go with your grief.
Yeah.
Affect, like, everything.
And then like how somebody else's grief can be used as like leverage. Like her family, for example, was using it as like, oh, poor me because I lost Vera. And in reality, that's just a very like self-centered way of experiencing grief. Whereas Tiago is very much like, it should have been me.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, the whole political thing was very realistic too, where like the politicians were using like her death as an example of like why immigration should be outlawed and why it shouldn't, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, dude, read it. 100%, 5 stars. I do. I always try to buffer myself against your recommendations. It's not that I don't trust your recommendations. I feel like you read a lot more like gore than I do. And I think that's just a bias I have against you. So I try to like, I don't know, put time between the times that I read your recommendations. But that I didn't have that problem with this book at all. Like, I didn't find it over the top gory or gross, or I mean, there are moments where you're like, ugh, but it's not like over the top like slasher or anything. No eye rolls, no spice. There was like a supernatural, almost like cosmic horror about this one. So I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. And I wouldn't recommend anything to you that was like
super gross.
Magic, like we'll be talking about later. But no, the only issue I have with this book, it's not really with the book at all. It's so I saw this recommended on Book Talk. I think it was by Brandon Baker, but I'm not.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I like him. But and I know I saw it. It was like 2 different times. It doesn't sound that great, honestly.
No.
It's so freaking good. Like, you read the summary and you're like,
actually,
yeah. But I was like, you know what? And I was still new to reading when I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a try. And oh my goodness, I was just blown away. And I'm like, that doesn't even do the book justice.
It doesn't.
All. And that's like not really a problem with the book, obviously, but it's like I think so many people probably miss out on this book because they read it and they're like, you know, they might not think it's gonna be interesting or oh, it's so good though, and yeah, I love that book.
I mean, I think that I had that problem with it too. It's like,
yeah, you read the synopsis and you're like,
That's why I think like recommendations or like ratings or reviews are so important on books like this, is because like it gives you more of an experience as far as like, well, the summary is kind of meh, but this person had such like an outstanding like experience with it that I'll give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I recommended it to you because I knew it wasn't, like I said, I wouldn't recommend like read the slog. Like,
no.
But like this book, I'm like, I knew there's gore in it, but it was just so well written. That's kind of like Brother, but Brother's a tad more gory, but it's just such a good story. But Brother has had a lot of attention. This book I think is underrated, and I don't think it gets the attention it deserves.
No.
So it's so good. But yeah, so yeah, I'm so glad you liked it.
I did. Yeah. Talking about books that we've both read, you read What Moves the Dead?
Yes, What Moves the Dead, Sworn Soldiers #1 by T. Kingfisher. And it's a fantasy with like gothic and horror elements. Also, I'll mention this book is a retelling of The Fall of the The Fall of the House of Usher.
There you go.
By Edgar Allan Poe. It's 165 pages, and I read the physical copy as it was a gift for Christmas from Matt. So
you're welcome.
So the summary is when Alex Easton, a retired soldier, receives word that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying. They race to the ancestral home of the Ushers in the remote countryside of Ruavia. How do you say it?
Ruavia? I don't know.
That one.
Yeah.
They don't mention it a lot, so it's fine.
No, they don't. It doesn't matter. It's all made up.
I know, right? What they find there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. Madeline sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed with a mysterious malady of the nerves. Okay, sorry. Aided by the redoubtable British mycologist and a baffled American doctor, Alex must unravel the secret of the House of Usher before it consumes them all. So, T. Kingfisher, she just never ceases to amaze me with the way she writes.
Yeah.
So, the story is creepy, and even there's a little bit of gore in there. Not disgusting gore.
No.
it is gory though, but not disgusting, and it doesn't make sense when I say that, but she has a way with words. She has
She
such
does.
a way of doing it that it's just incredible. And the world building of the place was wonderful. The lake, the house, the rabbits. I mean, if the cover
the
doesn't drag
rabbits.
you in, like, I don't know what will. That cover is just gorgeous. And the characters are all written so well. And they all have their little quirks, and that includes Hob, who is a horse. And I love him.
I love him too.
Everything was so intriguing. Also, what is a T. Kingfisher book without its poetic and ingenious banter? Because everything she writes, just you find yourself giggling and laughing because she's just funny. And I was very excited to read What Feasts at Night after reading this book. And you'll be hearing about that later in this episode.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there has never been a book I wouldn't recommend by T. Kingfisher, so I do recommend it.
Yeah.
And I give it 3.5 stars, 0 spice, and 0 eye rolls.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy it. Yes.
Very good.
All right, so what are we talking about next?
So next I read Dream by the Shadows by Logan Karlie. It is a dark fantasy, young adult, actually. It is 388 pages. I started it on February 15th, and I ended it today.
Oof.
It took me half a month to read it. And it is on Kindle Unlimited. So the summary is, in the dreams he will haunt her, through the shadows she must save him. In the kingdom of Noctis, dreams are deadly and darkness reigns. Villages are rife with corruption, a soul-stealing curse spread by dreaming, and the wicked Shadowbringer is said to rule from his monstrous castle in the dream realm. Only the elixir and an expensive draught taken every night before sleeping can halt dreams and prevent the curse from taking hold, but it is terribly expensive and cannot cure those already afflicted. Esmer Havenfall has only ever wanted to escape her miserable village life, but when her sister dies from corruption and her elixir-dealing parents are accused of horrific crime, her life turns from one nightmare to another. And when she begins dreaming of the Shadowbringer and learns that his monstrous powers might also be hers, she is wretched away from everything she's ever known to join him in the castle in the dream realm. If they wish to earn their freedom, Esmer and the Shadowbringer must fight to save their kingdom and their souls. Unfortunately, time is running out, even as they traverse the precarious dreamscape, rushing to unravel the Shadowbringer's haunted past. More dreamers are falling prey to corruption and dying. And if they fail, they'll be lost to the dream realm forever.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so this is a great idea, poor execution. I think the more and more I read Kindle Unlimited or Book Talk recommendations, I find that is the case. Like a lot of the Book Talk recommendations, they, you know how they have like the squiggle, like the with the arrow, and it's like enemies to lovers and morally gray. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so that kind of sounds interesting. Maybe I'll give it a shot. But then it kind of falls short. I loved the cover art. It was beautiful, like with the little hands and the blue and the but like and the world building was decent, but not great. Good, not great.
Yeah, good, not great.
Characters and scenes fell flat. So because I think I was talking about this with you earlier, because it is constantly in between like dream and reality. Sometimes the dream scenes don't connect. I feel like when you're reading it and you know it's a dream, and then like things just kind of happen, or you get jostled around, or like boom, we're in the next scene. It's kind of confusing, and it's not that like I'm dumb and I can't keep it up, but like
Paper is pretty different. Yeah,
right. So like the idea that dream demons and shadows and all of that's a really cool idea, but like I don't know, it kind of fell short for me. And something I did find really interesting about this book in particular is that the main character point of view is told in the first person. So I did this, I woke up, I took
wow.
and then the other characters, so we get the Shadowbringer and the Lightbringer's POV, are told in the second. So like he stood up, he did this, which was really cool. Like that's such a cool idea, but oops.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I don't know. I might take a break from TikTok books for a little bit. I know in our thirsty, our like January or 2024 goals, I said that I was going to try and like read more popular books, but I don't know if I have it in me.
You even said that on the last thirsty.
Did I?
Yeah. Remember, I was like, I want to read more obscure books, and you were like, no.
No.
I want to read more popular books. Remember, we were like, oh.
Yeah, and then I came to this, and I'm like, you know what? Actually,
yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. So 3 stars. No, it is young adult, so it's not a spicy book whatsoever. It's not like smutty, so no spice. And 2 eye rolls because I sent you the quote. She's like, I'm 19.
Oh yeah.
Don't treat me like that. I'm like, oh my god, you're 19. Like, and this dude is like over 500 years old. So come on. I feel so weird. Okay, side note. So something I find like really like, I don't know, like it's a big ick in books is that like the male main characters, like for example, this one, he's like over 500 years old. Yeah. And then the girl is like 19, 20. Like, yes. I don't, why?
Well, that's like that. We were reading, oh God, what was the book? Was it Her Soul to Take? And he's been alive for like centuries, and it's like,
yeah, he's like a demon.
There isn't like, what's so special? Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, what was it about her? I feel like there should be more depth to the character. They should be have some experience in their life.
Or like there's like a real reason, like she was like born to be or whatever, but not like meh.
Yeah.
But no, like 19, no. Like
no, that's a baby. Yeah.
Let's 25 plus, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you on that.
Talking about which, how old is the female main character in your next book?
I don't even know. How old is she?
I don't know.
Probably 20. Next up, I will talk about is Death's Obsession by Avina St. Graves. Another one that's all over book talk.
I read this book too, by the way.
Yeah. So, I know it's 178 pages. So it's a dark romance fantasy. I started reading it January 31st and finished it on February 3rd. 178 pages, and I read it on KU. So, the synopsis is, he's coming for you. Death is meant to come on a chariot of broken dreams or in the dark trenches of a storm, not in the love letters and gifts. He did not take my soul when I was meant to die. He did not want it all the other times I've offered it to him on a silver platter, yet time and time again he reminds me that I am his night monster, his dark love, his perfect other. Death was the only thing keeping me alive. He watches me from his corner, taunts me with sweet messages, marks my body with his touch as I sleep. He took the people that I love away from me. Still, no one believed me when I said that I saw the faceless man on the night of the accident. No one can escape death. Me, I'm chasing it. Oh boy. So I love this book so much that I forgot about most of it, to be honest. I found myself struggling to even like put together likes and dislikes because it to me was so unmemorable. I just I thought it was going to be pretty awesome. Like, I like the idea of, death and like the little warning in the beginning. I can't remember word for it, but it was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. But so I thought it was something I would like, something that'd be fun. And this one just didn't do it for me. I do remember the obsidian hair. She kept mentioning this girl with obsidian hair. Stop. Like, you can say it once. You could say hair that was the color, like, it was black as obsidian, whatever. But she kept. And maybe it made me be like, so that way you know who I'm talking about. It's this girl. I don't care. So it was annoying.
I think I mentioned that too when I was talking about it. I don't even remember. I think it was like
I think you did. I think you did.
Yeah. And like how annoyed I was, and like the color of her sweater too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I get it.
Yeah,
I
know who it is.
That this is going to be important later, but
yeah, calm down. And what was the sleeveless cloak?
Yeah.
Is that a cape? Like what?
I think I said that too.
Well, no, yours was the vest.
That was what book was that we read together?
A Stark View?
Yeah, where it's like the sleeveless.
Yeah, and I thought of you because I'm reading this and there was a sleeveless cloak. And I'm like, there's another fun article of clothing. I'm like, that's a cape. And I sat there for way too long, like looking around, like thinking in my brain, like, what is a sleeveless cloak? And I'm like, that's a cape.
I'm spending too much time on this.
And and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I should probably read. Like, I should keep reading. That's horrible. But, she did, you mentioned this as well, her scar. My scar.
Yes.
It's death. You're dealing with death. He doesn't give a fuck about your stupid little scar. Like, stop. Oh, and my scar. Trying to hide my scar. We know you have a scar. And we know her hair is obsidian.
Yeah, and her sweater is blue.
Cloaks. And just stop.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to be so, like, mean,
also,
like, that stuff drove me nuts.
Her relationship with the dude, her boyfriend, drove me nuts too.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she just... And then, another thing that I thought was weird about her relationship with him is... No, this isn't really a spoiler. It talks about, like, because he hasn't had his hit. But all it talks about is him smoking weed. Yeah. I'm like, what is... He didn't get his, like, first, like, bowl in the morning? Like, what? Like, there's no mention of, like, real drugs. I'm not trying to be... But, you know, like...
No, yeah.
People are a certain kind of way if they don't get their coke or their heroin or something like that. But no, this is like...
Don't talk to me before I got my coffee.
Yeah, but he didn't get his morning hit. He yelled at me or whatever. I'm like, oof, no. Anyways,
have you
and she
ever smoked weed?
Yeah, and she kept like giving him money and like being all sad, and it's like, oh, but Death made me lasagna because he is so sweet.
Okay, but I do love a man that takes care of you. Like, I like how Death took care of her, but I think that's why I got 3 stars, because I just want that.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice, I guess. She drove me nuts. It wasn't him.
She is one of those that more and more, like, I really try not to like be like, I try to be a girl's girl, like 100%, but
hard.
It with these female main characters, it really is.
I know. I'm always like, no, not everyone could be Oriah. Like,
right.
I loved her. But anyways, a lot of people did like this book. So for me, it was another. You literally wrote this. Great idea, poor execution. In my opinion. Yep. I haven't, like, you and me have just been seeing that more and more, and
yeah, dude. Like, I don't know
if there's
where
like
to
a
go
drought
from here.
going on, or like I need to find people who I don't know, just not my thing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend this. There's so many dark romances that I think are better and that are to me, and I just didn't think this was it. So I only gave it 2 stars. And
I think I gave it 3, but that's because of the books I was reading. So I think that's weird when we read books around, like, during the month. Okay, I'm like, okay, so This Thing Between Us is a 5-star, obviously. So then I petitioned the books that I read, the rest of the books I read, against that one, and it probably isn't fair.
I think you do that without even like realizing it.
Yeah,
too.
Like I have like a bias.
Yeah, and it's not like I'll sometimes force myself to read something after I read a good book because, like, I can't be in a book slump. We got a show to do.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna read this.
Doing shit.
So, like, I read it and I'm like, and I shouldn't be like that, but I think I can't even help it. Like, it's gonna subconsciously, like, it's gonna happen. But I gave this one 2 stars, 3.5 spice and 4 eye rolls. Yeah, not quite 5. I've read worse, but like girls, FMCs, but she wasn't it. Yeah. Oh, so next is the arc we got.
Yeah. Thank you to the lovely, lovely DV Leigh for sending us the package. And I was just expecting just the book. And we got this whole ass package of Like there's a hair or not hair tie, but like a hair clip. There was a pen that was not blue ink, by the way.
Thank you for that. I hate blue ink with passion. I was like,
I know.
Yeah, and it wasn't. So thank you.
It
You
was
didn't even
great.
know that.
So
and there was art in it and a bookmark.
Yep.
And oh my god, there's just so many fun
things. And there's
things.
like little annotation stickies, and I forget what else. The little wormies. I love those little wormies.
A sneak peek.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get that right.
Envelope. I hope so.
I hope so too.
Sounded really good. So you can read the.
Yeah, it was the Hollowed Misfits by D.V. Leigh. It was like fantasy romance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 158 pages. I started it on February 5th, like as soon as I got the book, and ended it on February 13th. What about you?
I started it on February 14th on Valentine's Day, and I was really into the Everqueen. So,
well, yeah, and it was 500 pages. Come on.
Yeah, it was a long boy. And then I finished it up on February 22nd.
So Avril was created for the Misfits, the outcasts, the mentally hindered. Once a year, the barrier drops to allow havoc and to be allow the havoc to be released on the turned, a breed of darkness derived from Greer's Hollow, an unspeakable place plagued with evil and death. Callista, a forever inhabitant of Avril, and her two fellow goons, Slater and Torvin, yearn for the taste of the turned. In a mix of chaos, blood, and fury, the vile godlike Greer has captured her, becoming intrigued by her impressive mind. He plans to keep his puppet forever. While in prison, Callista finds Elena? I think.
I said Elena.
Elena, okay. A chosen one from the land of Gaia. The place of good and grace. Callista and Elena work on getting out of the prison, while deep within Callista's mind, she has grown fond, yet curious, of the creature Greer. Callista has a choice to make. Stay with Greer and learn his secrets, or sacrifice Elena like the rest, a casualty of war, if you will. Or save her and make her one of them, a misfit. Welcome the pure, evident malice of the Hollowed Misfits. Twists, tricks, and turbulence await your eyes, and dive into the manic episode of this book. Okay, so like I said before, I really, like in every single one of these reviews, I really loved the premise of this book. Like, I think the dark fantasy elements and the lore, mythology, and the inventive creatures was amazing. Like, very, very creative. And just a few things fell short for me on this one. Aside from the grammatical errors, like I understand she's an indie author, so like those things can be missed. And she was very sweet. I actually emailed her, and hopefully those have been cleared up, but she was very sweet about the whole, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, dude, like if I was an author, like I would want to know this. And this is just a me thing. Like, I don't love Harley Quinn as a character. Like, I'm not a big like superhero person. I don't find like DC or what's the other one, Marvel, to be like groundbreaking stories for me. And that's just me. Like, I know a lot of people love superheroes, love Harley Quinn as a character. So like Callista is a Harley Quinn-esque. She kind of has like Sibby vibes too from, what is that book? Haunting of Adeline.
Haunting, yeah.
So like it's probably somebody's cup of tea. Like, that's just gonna happen. Like, we get an arc, and it's not my thing, and that's totally fine. Like, I read it, and the scenes make sense next to each other, and I think that's really what we're there for, is to make sure that like the storyline makes sense, and like boom boom boom, this happened, and like the conversations, yada yada yada. Like,
right.
I don't have to love the storyline for it to be a good book, right? Because like,
well, everyone has different tastes. Yeah. And for me, like, kind of the same thing. So it wasn't a bad book by any means. It just wasn't my kind of book. So I did like the premise. And I liked the pet name, the little puppet. I did like that. I don't know, that was a good one. I did enjoy the world building. So the place seemed wild. Like, my brain kept thinking that this would have actually been an amazing graphic novel. there'd be lots of spicy pictures, but I can imagine the art being really amazing for this, because there was amazing creatures and a really like fantastical, brutal world and just a deranged atmosphere, but in a good way,
Yeah.
So to me, and this could be because the FMC reminded me so much of Harley Quinn, but it had like a comic vibe, and I think that's why. I think it's just my brain was so stuck on this as Harley Quinn, because it just reminded you of her. There's not a lot of characters like her, so when you read a character that has the same like
characteristics,
personality, you immediately go to her. It's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So and that's just me, but there were some spelling errors. Like, she is a new author though, and like I can't even write a text without errors galore, so like I digress. Yeah,
we ignore each other.
Right, we've learned to read each other's mistakes.
Yes.
It's gotten to that point. I personally enjoyed the Grimwell Legacies books more. They were just more my style. I love those. Just more me. So this book's not bad, and I do recommend it if you're into that like action and just that kind of vibe. You will like it. So I gave it 3 stars. I gave it 3 spice, and I gave it 3 eye rolls, which I know sounds like a lot, but like like action one-liners and it's corny stuff, and it's not like it's like eye rolls because like of course you're it's like little cheesy parts, but like it's not in a bad way. It's just like, oh god, and then but yeah. So
well,
what did you rate
eye rolls are fun, I did exactly the same, because 3 stars, 3 spice, 3 eye rolls. It's a romance, of course. There's going to be cheese. Yeah It's just gonna happen.
Like, my favorite romances. I roll my eyes, but I still love it. So
exactly.
And I'm excited for. I know she has something coming out on the horizon, anyways, that we got a little note about, and I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
Just keep doing your thing, DV Leigh. Yeah. You're obviously branching out.
Secrets,
and I love it. And we want to. You've almost inspired us to write a book. We're like, I wonder if we could do it, and we keep talking about it. And there's an outline. that came up with. I know. I'm like, ooh, I want to sit with this. So like, but we know it's a lot of freaking work. So, but we love you to death, DV Leigh.
We do.
And, can't wait to talk to you soon. Hopefully, next Thursday, if she's not busy, we'll have her on and talk about some upcoming projects and other random questions we have for her. Yeah. She's so great.
She's so great. I love her.
Yeah. So
on a completely different spectrum.
So I read Magick by Judith Sonnet.
Which sounds great.
It's a splatterpunk and it's rated X, just to give you. Yeah. So I started it on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. So I started this and Hollowed Misfits the same day, because Hollowed Misfits was like, so you see, it took me a little minute to read. That was my day read because I had a hard copy. So before bed, like my husband sleeps, so I'm on the Kindle. So, anyways, so I started on Valentine's Day, so romantic, and I finished it February 16th. It was 106 pages, and it's Kindle Unlimited, which you don't find a lot of splatterpunk on KU.
You don't.
I was super stoked about it. So. She also wrote No One Rides for Free.
Oh, this is the same. Okay.
Same author. Yeah.
I'm so excited for this.
So, dubbed Magick Manor, it was once a brothel. Now this strange cube-shaped house is known for its bizarre hauntings and violent ghosts. Today, a crew of pornographic artists have come to Magick Manor to make a film. Only the manor has a different, more abhorrent design for their day. This book features X-rated depravity and sexual violence. It is not intended for sensitive readers. That is written in all caps, bold, exclamation point on the book. Just warning you. So this book, all the triggers, every single one, it has them all.
Cool.
All of them. So just so you know, I can say I liked how you got a bit of history about the house, which I thought was actually pretty rad. So it the book starts off you're in the 1930s, and a psychic couple along with a friend visits to read the house to see if it is indeed haunted. And the house was I I should have looked, but I think it was built in like the 1880s or something like that. So, to see if the house is indeed haunted. Where am I? Oh, there I am. They hear a story from a man that somehow survived the Magick Manor, and his story is so grotesque and unbelievable, but also, and you're just like, there's no way. But also, who can make up something that, like that bad? And Judith Sonnet.
Her, apparently. Yeah. Great.
Good. Cool. But the psychics, well, you read about what happens to them. Then the book cuts to 2022. And from there, like, terror ensues. Like, the house makes you feel sexually charged when you go into it. And not in a good way.
Oh.
To where, like, you must do something about it. Okay? So I can't say much more about the book. It is grotesque, but it was a page turner. And I needed to know what was going to happen next. And how the heck this book was going to end. And when you think the climax of depravity has happened, you're wrong, because it gets worse.
Oh, cool.
And I like this book because even though it was indeed a splatter punk fest, you got a lot of story, and it's 106 pages. Like,
yeah,
there's so much in that little bit. So if you have KU and you like splatterpunk, then yes, I would recommend it. But keep in mind that there is sexual violence in a lot of it. So please only read if you're a splatterpunk reader. Do not start your splatterpunk journey with this. And I only rate these books with stars. So I gave it 3 stars. And I'm going to start rating my splatterpunk more fairly, because before I'm like, it's gross. I feel like I didn't want to give it a high.
Right.
I was rating them wrong. So this was 3 stars. It's 106 pages, and you really learn a lot about the house. And like, if it wasn't for all the wow, like, I would be like, Bekk, you should read this, but you shouldn't. But but the story of the house is actually really interesting. So I enjoyed that. The story about it. So anyways, I gave it 3 stars, and again, check your triggers.
Yeah, I've almost had that like conversation in my head too, as far as even like our romance reads. I feel like they should be rated differently, because I feel like I'm not fair to the romance, because it's it's not going to be American
so
God.
It's always going to be
like lower than 5 stars. Of course it is, but
yeah.
I've
been going back on some of mine because I've realized that, like, you know what, if I keep thinking about it, it's a 5-star. Like, it is. If I think about it, recommend it, talk about it, and it's on my brain a lot, then it did something, like, more, and I'm giving other books 4 stars or 3 stars that I never think about again.
Right.
So, like, I do feel like I need to be a little bit
right,
less, like, stingy, because I've been so stingy, and I think I need to.
I feel like my like basis is always 3 stars. I'm like, I get done with a book and I'm like, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, 3 stars. But that's not that shouldn't be. It should be like a 2-star at that point. But whatever.
Yeah, it's our ratings.
Yeah,
they're all subjective. We know this.
I know. I just don't want to be subjective, but it has to be.
Yeah, exactly. So
on to our read with S&B book. This was Feast at Night by T. Kingfisher. It is horror, 147 pages, and I read it on audiobook, which it's not on Kindle Unlimited, so I had to buy it.
Yes, me too. I bought it on Kindle. I read it. I started it February 16th and finished February 21st, and I bought it on the Kindle. So yeah. Yep.
I started it February 20th, ended it on February 22nd. So pretty quick. We both did it pretty quick. Yeah. Okay, so after their terrifying ordeal at the Usher Manor, Alex Easton feels as if they just survived another war. Oh, geez. All they crave is rest, routine, and sunshine. But instead, as a favor to Angus and Miss Potter, they find themselves heading to their family hunting lodge deep in the cold, damp forest of their home country, Galatia?
I said Galatia.
Galatia, okay.
Yeah. In
theory, one can find relaxation in even the coldest and dampest of Galatian autumns, but when Easton arrives, they find the caretaker dead, the lodge in disarray, and the grounds troubled by a strange, uncanny silence. The villagers whispered that a breath-stealing monster from folklore has taken up residence in Easton's home. Easton knows better than to put too much stock in local superstitions, but they can tell that something is not quite right in their home or in their dreams. I don't know how to start with this because we have been T. Kingfisher stans since like the beginning of this podcast, but this was not my favorite. It wasn't. And it's disappointing because it does have all of the elements that I come to love from her. The atmosphere, the foreshadowing, and the thing that makes you come back to the book. In this example, it's moths. It had the folklore, but there's just something like lacking. And I think I mentioned it before when I read Thornhedge that the final quote unquote battle was a bit anticlimactic. Did you find that too?
I didn't read Thornhedge.
No, but like, did you find?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, for sure. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Also, I did listen to it on audiobook, and I wasn't the biggest fan of how the reader decided to read it. There's like too many long pauses. The dialogue that we come to love with T. Kingfisher was a little, I don't know, stale when it was read. And then like how many times I heard Christ's blood in the audiobook, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also, if I had gone through what Easton had, because you just read What Moves the Dead, had I gone through that, I don't think it would have taken me so long to get up to pace with what was going on.
What's going on? Yeah, for sure.
I'd be like,
sure.
you know
it
what?
was weird.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. Let's do something about this.
Let's fix this.
Yeah,
for sure. I also heard. I read a lot of reviews. A lot of people didn't like the audiobook.
Oh yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, I didn't. I did not listen to it, and I'm glad I didn't because I saw a lot of people weren't fans of that.
No, yeah.
So yeah. But so I will say T. Kingfisher always has a way with taking something you see every day and you never quite look at it the same again. So willow trees, roses, ladybugs, mushrooms, and now white moths. It's funny because every time we read one of her books, we'll I've mentioned this before, but the ladybug on the romaine lettuce that I was washing, and I, oh my God, took a picture and sent it to Bekk. So it's like it's weird because like there's little things like this in so many books, but for some reason
our Thirsty has a willow tree because of her. Like our
the little logo thing. Yeah, exactly. So she does have a way with doing that, and I like the chapter, I can't remember which one it is, where she kind of starts talking to you as the reader.
I'm like,
I thought that was really fun.
yeah.
She goes, I know what you're thinking, and I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, she's talking to me.
Oh shit,
what's up? Yeah, or
yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So she meaning the author, but so like Bekk said, it had all the elements, just didn't grab me for whatever reason, like most of her books. The language was different. I understand like they're mixing real and fake, and like, Galatia is a real place, but the wars that happened, that war between Bulgaria and the other country, that was an actual thing. Like that was very real. So she's mixing the two, and she probably wanted to make that place its own, but it was just a little bit confusing at times. And some passages I did have to like read a couple times, and then I was good. Like I'd read it again, and be like, oh, okay, like I see what they're trying to say. But I hate when I have to do that because it kind of takes me out of the story. But it just, I don't know, just fell short. I usually find at least one thing, or not one thing, but one relatable character in like all of her books, and I didn't have that with this one. So that kind of sucks.
There's characters that I loved, but I didn't relate to them.
Same, but I didn't relate to them, and that's kind of something I look forward to in her books. Is there's always kind of like a relatable character. And in this one, I didn't, but I did like him. I think I like all of them, but I really love Hob the horse. He's like my favorite.
But then the thing that had,
this was no, that was hard to read.
It was
sad. But this book is my least favorite by Kingfisher. It's not bad. I think it was just a little disappointing for me because I really enjoyed What Moves the Dead. And I was super stoked for this. and it just kind of fell flat for me.
So I gave this 3 stars, no spice, 1 eye roll, for the above mentioned, the, Christ blood, and, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But there's definitely other T. Kingfisher books that I would recommend wholly over this one. Start with The Hollow Places for sure.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
3 stars, no spice, 1 eye roll as well. So like the same exact rating. But to me, I think you could read What Moves the Dead without this one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And you will be satisfied. It's not like a cliffhanger or anything.
No.
It was just a continuation to what happens next. So I just like so many. Please don't start with this one. Let me put it that way.
Right. Yeah. Don't take our stand of T. Kingfisher based on this book.
No, because we love her.
We do.
The Hollow Places, the House with Good Bones. That was
a good
top
one.
tier, dude. Paladin's Grace is really good. She has so many great books. This one just was. It's not that this was a horrible book. It just was not my. It just kind of. Meh. I expected more, I guess, but that's okay. We'll wait for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. A Sorceress Comes to Call, I believe, is the next one.
Yeah. Do you know when that comes out?
August.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we already have August and we already have September book club book.
We're
ready to go.
Ready for the year.
Yeah, oh my god, I'm so excited for the Braun book. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I know. I pre-ordered that thing right away.
Oh, I did too.
Super stoked. Super stoked.
So stoked. But what are you currently reading?
I was reading Pestilence, the 4 Horsemen, book 1. That's that you see a lot of it on book.
Yeah,
I do anyways.
That was on my TBR as well until. Go ahead.
I DNF'd it.
Yeah.
So there was So before I tell you the quote, I saw this. I was reading the book, and I'm like, I read this quote that I will read, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? And I took a picture, and I sent it to Bekk, and it was like late, and she works, and I don't. So she got back to me the next day, like, what? And I'm like, dude. And then I was like ranting about it to her, like via Messenger. Typing thumbs going away, and the more I talked about it, the more pissed off I got, and I'm like, I'm fucking done. Like, I'm DNFing it. I can't.
Yeah. And like now I'm just gonna keep like referencing back to it. Like, go ahead, read it.
I'm gonna read it. Okay, mind you, I may be a little salty because I'm 41 years old. Okay, it says, his hair is a dull brown that's losing its battle to gray. And his face has that worn, stretched appearance that skin starts to get in a person's 40s. What?
Anytime I see a dude that's over 40, and you're like, oh, his face, it's like
it's
pulling
that
off.
weird stretch. Yeah. I was so pissed. I said, look at this, Bekk. I was so mad. I'm like, I'm done. And I was okay. I was like, well, I'm going to still try because blah, blah, blah. And then I kept bitching about it. But honestly, like, okay, she was getting on my last damn nerve anyway. There's just so many things in the beginning of the book. I'm like, I mean, I already gave the book like 100 eye rolls at that point. So that just sent me over the edge. I'm like, oh, who wrote this little thing? Be 20 must be nice. Think of your readers, okay? I'm gonna no. But like,
you don't just die at 40.
No, you don't turn 40 and your fucking skin falls off.
Dude.
Like, okay. I was so mad. 40s? Am I like really fucking old?
Well, it brings back like, that trend's going on TikTok right now that like people like, guess my age, and it's like, oh, you look 50, and it's like, oh no, I'm 22. It's like, then fuck off. Like,
then don't ask.
Yeah.
Like, no, but another thing I hate is I don't know. I think as a woman too. I mean, she was talking about a man, but like as a woman, when we age, it's such a terrible.
Oh yeah,
thing.
It's the worst thing to ever happen.
And when a man ages, it's okay. And she was talking about a man, but I think I just take things like that personally, and it like hurts my confidence a little bit. Like I read that and I go, oh my god, dude! Like,
yeah, but it's not only just
look
that.
At me like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
it makes me feel like uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to feel like this. Like, that's not what I'm.
Well,
I just got insulted.
It's almost like buying into the like idea that women have like an expiration date, almost.
Yes.
Where it's like,
yes.
although she was talking about a man, yes, but it hurts more as a woman because you feel like, okay, I'm no longer useful after 40, I guess. But that's not the
I read
case.
this and I'm like, oh, is that what's happening? Is that what I look like? And I just don't realize it. Like, is my fucking face melting?
Yeah,
like, I don't even know because I'm 41. Like, I don't know. And
I will say you don't have a melty face.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I changed my book to so I am now reading In the Shadow of Angels, the Guardian series, book 1 by Fannie Lee Savage. What a fun name.
Fanny.
Fanny. I love it. I want a friend named Fanny. Can we be friends, Fanny?
Hey, Fanny.
I like it so far. It's pretty neat. It's funny because I read the synopsis and I'm reading the book and I'm like, is this the right one? But it is. It's just a lot of introduction, but not in a bad way. It was just I was so confused.
Yeah.
But so far I'm liking it. It's weird because it's like modern day, and I'm so used to reading things that like take place in the olden days.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. But anyways, I like it so far.
That's good.
Screw Pestilence.
Yeah.
What are you reading?
I am currently reading S by J.J. Abrams, also known as The Ship of Theseus. It's one of those books that is like a book within a book. So I was on TikTok and I was trying to figure out the best way of reading it because I was in the like the notes of the translator, like the very beginning of the book, and I'm like, I'm already confused. So I looked it up and she's like, no, you should probably like you read it all the way through as the book first and then you go back and read the annotations. I was like, okay. So I'm gonna start reading or start having it read to me via audiobook, and then I'm gonna go back and like read the annotations and the inserts and all of that. But yeah,
I literally was like, this book looks hard. I'm gonna buy it for Bekk.
Well, because I have experience with House of Leaves.
Yeah, and I'm like, you don't come across a lot of books like this, so
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if she'll like it, but I'm gonna get it because it's kind of neat and it has little fun trinkets inside.
It does,
so
yeah.
like,
and I might like figure out a way of like presenting them or something like
like little shadow.
Yeah, something.
That's cool.
If I like it, I don't know.
If yeah, we'll see.
I hope I do, just because you bought it for me. But we'll see.
Well, it's okay if you don't. I didn't read it first. I'm not smart enough for that stuff.
You are too.
I don't know. My face is melting off. So.
Your brain is starting to melt.
My brain's going with it. Yeah. I'm 40.
I'm 40. I'm like geriatric at this point. Jesus Christ.
I hated that. Anyways. So, yeah. Oh, tell everybody our March # read with SMB.
Okay, so since it's both on both of our TBRs, we decided to go with The Goddess of Light and Dawn. That is by our KM Morinova. I think we've read both of the other ones together on the podcast together. Yeah.
We kept saying we were going to read the next one and then
we haven't yet. So we thought, let's take a delve into something we know we're actually going to like, or at least have history with. So
yeah, she's a good author. She wrote The Fabric of Our Souls. So.
Yeah, that's another book that I'm gonna try to read, but I think I might give it some time because I was sad.
A sad one.
Yeah,
and you just read a sad book. So.
I did just read a sad book.
So, and with that, our fellow book lovers brings us to the final chapter of February Wrapped. But fear not, the story doesn't end here.
We've explored this thing between us, what moves the dead, what feasts at night, hollowed misfits, dreamed by the shadows, death's obsession, the Everqueen, and Magick. Thank you for joining us on our reading adventure.
And if you stumble upon a book recommendation that resonated with you, drop it in the comments, please. We would love to hear from you guys. So let's build a community of passionate readers.
Yeah, and stay tuned for our next episode where we'll sip tea, spill the beans on our most recent KU cringe. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good one.
And talk with the lovely DV Leigh if she has time for us.
Yeah, and so that's all for today. I'm your co-host, Stephanie.
And I'm Bekk.
And this has been Novelty with SMB. See you in the next chapter.